Okay, so this is where we should have left our robot last time. With all the different brackets in the corners, you should have had two ways connecting each corner. So for example, here I had two corner brackets. Here on this one I had two plates, a plate on the top and a plate on the bottom. Over here I had a plate, and if I spin it around, I had one of those inside couplers on there, inside connectors there, end connectors, I guess. And on this side I had a plate, um, and a angle bracket. I think I mentioned, yeah, plate and the coupler, or and the end plate there. So that's the way I connected my corners. You could have done it a variety of different ways after I showed you those first couple. All right, what we're going to do this time now is we're going to try to get some wheels on this thing. Hopefully we have time in this 15-minute video to get all of our wheels on. We'll just see what we get done. So first, we're going to go place. Under place, we're first going to place some motor mounts. This robot we're going to create is going to be a two-wheel drive robot. So we're going to need some motors and some motor mounts. So we're going to go motor mounts. The motor mount we're going to use is this one, the 37mm bottom tap motor mount. So we're going to place in two of those. One there and one there, that's fine. While we're doing it, we're going to need some motors. So we're going to place in some motors. And we're going to use the never rest motors. So we're going to place in two of those. While we're doing it, we also need some wheels. So we're going to go ahead and place in some wheels. So I'm going to scroll down to the wheels folder. They have these two parts of the wheels you can put together, but there's also one that's already assembled together. So we're just going to go ahead and place in this assembly. It's called a sub-assembly. So this is already assembled together. We're going to place in the sub-assembly, which will save you a couple steps. So we're going to go with that and place in two of those. All right, that's going to be enough to get us started at least a little bit. So let's start putting some of these into place. First off, we're going to start with our motor mount. We're going to go constrain this bottom surface of the motor mount here. We're going to select it, and we're going to mount it on the bottom of our robot. So I'm going to flip this robot over, and now we're down here on the bottom of the robot. Now here's where you have a decision to make. Notice the bottom of my robot. I happen to use, on three of the sides, I use this plate here on the bottom. We need all of our wheels to be mounted on the same surface. So mine, again, 3 out of the 4 have that plate on it. So I'm going to mount mine to a plate, my motor mount here. I do not have a plate here, so I am going to have to add a plate to this one once I get to it. So for now, though, to start, this is the motor mount I'm going to place. I'm going to place it right on top of this plate here. So it's going to go right to there. And I'm going to apply that. Next, I'm going to move this off of that surface just a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and constrain. I'm going to constrain the center hole of that motor mount there. And I'm going to constrain it to the center line of that plate that I just mentioned I had on there. So constrain that there. So now my motor mount will rotate here. You do want to put them both the same direction. It really doesn't matter which direction you put it. Notice I have this tightening clamp here on it that holds your motor and clamps it in place. I have it in the back. This is the way I'm going to put it on this one. Or you can have it facing towards the front. However that is, but again, it has to be setting flat on this plate. Excuse me, it's not coronavirus. So now I'm going to place this other part of the motor mount. I'm going to constrain this hole there and rotate this around, and I think it looks like it should line up with that hole. Yes, very good. So apply that. So there's that motor mount put into place and looking really good. Now once again, as I just mentioned, mine I decided to do even on all the plates since I had plates on 3 out of the 4 of the sides. So I'm going to go ahead and add another plate here. If you are going to happen to say, oh, I decided to mount mine flat, that's okay. But if you get rid of any plates, you're going to have to add in another brace, because remember, each one of these corners have to be braced in 2 positions. I'm going to pause my video for a second, and I'm going to go ahead and get this other plate added here. I think you can handle that on your own. Okay, so as you see, I'm on the other corner here. I did go ahead and put this plate in there. It's just that normal little plate. It's underneath of brackets. I went ahead and put one of those on. And now I did go ahead and mate this to that surface. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish constraining this piece. Now I want to make it face in the same direction as this one. So that means the hole on this end I want to put towards the front, or constrain it towards the front. So here I'm going to go to the center of that hole and whoa, and constrain it. Oh, I spun my whole thing around. And constrain it right up here to this front hole on that plate, right there. Apply that. Once again, as I always do, it's a little bit easier to rotate this around so at least it's close. So I'm going to constrain here, go to the center of that hole, rotate it back around, and put it right there to that hole, and apply that. Now, if I've done that all properly, these two little portions of it are towards the back, and that just makes it look consistently the same. All right, so now we need to put our motors in there. I'm going to go constrain. I'm going to go to the center line of the motor. Just click there, and I'm going to go to the motor mount and click on that surface to the center line of it, and put my motor in there. Now notice the shaft of this motor. It's sticking out this side. It's going to be hard to mount a wheel here on this inside of it, so I need to make it go the other direction. So I'm just going to click here, and that makes it spin the other direction. I'm going to go ahead and apply that. I'm going to go ahead and put my other motor in there, constrain this one to right there, and it's facing the right direction, so I'm going to go ahead and apply that. Now, next, I want these motors sticking out the same, so I'm going to go ahead and use flush. And I'm going to come right to here, and I'm going to flush this surface of the motor with this surface of the motor mount. But however, I'm not going to leave it totally flush. Right here in this space, I'm going to use offset. I'm going to offset a 1/2 of an inch. So I'm going to go 0.5 and offset the 1/2 inch. Now, notice when I offset that 1/2 of an inch, it went in the way that I had mine selected. Yours may or may not have. If yours did go in, easy enough. You just change this to a negative. Put a minus in front of that, and offset it minus 1/2 of an inch in this direction. So I'm going to go ahead and go OK, and do the same thing on this other side. So I'm going to spin around here. I'm going to constrain. I'm going to flush this with this surface there. And again, I'm going to do it a 1/2 of an inch. It goes in again, so I'm going to go ahead and make that minus 1/2 of an inch and go OK. So now, my motors are, or motor mounts and motors, both are in there. Now, your motors are not fully constrained yet. They'll still rotate around this axis, which changes the position of this shaft. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, but right now I'm just going to leave them like that so they rotate. Okay, so now I'm going to stick a wheel on there. I'm going to go constrain. Whoa, don't know what I just did there. I'm going to try that again. Go constrain. Going to pick the center line of my wheel. So I'm going to come right over there, pick the center of the wheel, and put it onto that shaft. Come on, get the center line of the shaft right there, and apply that. Now, when you put that on there, tell me how you feel that that fits on there. We'll pull it on and off here. Do you feel this hole of the shaft fits the hole of the motor or the wheel very well? It really doesn't. We need something else in there. The thing that we need in there is a little mount, little wheel mount. So we need to place another part. So we're going to go to place. I'm going to go up a folder, and let's see. I think that's under clamp colors. Yes, it is. It's under clamp colors, and it's clamping D hubs. And I believe we're going to go ahead and go with the 1/4 inch one. So we're going to go with the 1/4 inch, 0.25, clamping D hub, and go open. I'm going to place that in there, and I'm going to go ahead and put in 2 while I do that. Okay, so now with this, I'm going to constrain it to my wheel. I'm going to constrain the center line of it to the center line of my wheel. Now, before I apply this, I want to look to see what I've got. All right, so it's sticking in here. This portion is actually going to stick out, but I want it sticking in just like this. This part of it is going to clamp together. I want that to be on the outside of my wheel. So it is the correct direction. All I was checking on here is so you didn't have to change this and make it face the other way. This is facing the correct way. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that. And now I'm going to go ahead and pull this apart a little bit so you can see what we're actually doing here. So let me see. I'm going to take this. I'm going to pull it out. All right. So now, the way that this works, this little hole here, or sorry, this little shoulder here, this cylinder, sticks inside of this hole, and this surface gets mated to this surface. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to go constrain, mate that surface to that surface of the wheel right there, and apply that. Now this is a little hard to see, or a little hard to do. If I grab this piece, let me hit escape there. Everything kind of moves all at once, but notice how this piece rotates on the wheel and the wheel rotates. Everything's rotating a little bit weird there. We're going to try to lock that up a little bit now. So what I want to do is I want to constrain the center hole or center line of this with the center line of one of those holes. So I'm going to go constrain, center line of that little wheel bracket that I just put in there to that center line there. And now we have a little bit less things that move around. We still have some, because it still moves in and out. This whole thing still rotates around and around. Kind of weird, but we're getting closer. For now, this part that rotates around and around, we're going to keep that. What I am going to do, however, though, is I'm going to keep this from sliding in and out. So to keep it from sliding in and out, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to constrain, and I'm going to mate this surface to this surface of the motor right here. Now, on that, I don't want it to be perfectly tight, so kind of like what I did before. I'm going to try to get around here where you can see a little bit better. I don't want it to be tight there. I want it to be offset a little bit. I'm going to offset that 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to type 0.25 here, and that moved it out so there's a 1/4 inch gap in between here and here. And we're going to go ahead and just apply that. All right. That was a little bit to do there. I don't think you need to watch me do both sides of this though. So go ahead and do that exact same steps on the other side. Now you are still going to have it to where this whole motor rotates in here. We're going to look at what we're going to do to that here in just a little bit. All right, so I'm going to pause the video and let you do the other side. Okay, so I have this other half put in here. Now the only things I hope you remembered is this wheel here didn't set in there tight. Remember we had that 1/4 inch offset that we did here. And this portion of the little bracket that we put in there, the clamp, goes here on the outside, so we can get to it and put this on there. If this was on the inside of it, it'd be very difficult to get your screw that goes in here that clamps it down to your shaft nice and tight. So that's what we've got there. Again, this still rotates around, and we're going to mess with that here in a little bit. Now, the next thing I want you to do is we're actually going to create a sub-assembly. So what we're going to do is, much like this wheel was put together in a sub-assembly, we're going to create a sub-assembly. It'll save us some time, and I want you to see how to do that. So we're going to go File, New, and we're going to make a new standard IAM. For this, we're going to make an assembly for our front wheels. So we're going to go Place, and we're going to place in a, let's see, we're going to place in a channel. We're going to place in a 1.5 inch channel. So channel 1.5, place that in there. We're going to go ahead and go back to place. We're going to place in bearings. So we're going to go to bearings. And you're going to place in 2 flange bearings. So flange bearings 1 and 2. You're going to place in again. And we're going to place in a shaft. I think it's under shaft. Yes, shafts. And we're going to place in a 3.5 inch shaft. And we're going to place again. And we're going to place in, I think it's under coupler. Nope, it was not under coupler. We're going to place in, I'm trying to think where it is. It might be under bearings. No, it's not under bearings. Let me pause the video and I'll show you. All right, it was under clamp colors. Clamp colors, we're going to go to clamp colors, place those, and we're going to place in just 0.25 inch shaft colors. And we're going to place in 2 of those. And then 1 more, we're going to place in that same one we had just a second ago, a D hub, the 0.25 inch. All right, so that's all the parts we need. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our block and we're going to ground it. And then we're going to place in a couple of the bearings. We're going to go constrain, and we're going to get our bearing center line of it placed right here to that center line there. And it's facing out the flange portion of it. It's a little bit hard to see there, but I'll show you. We're going to pull this out a little bit like this, and we're going to go constrain and put that to that surface and apply that. So there, that one bearing's in place. We're going to get F6. Oops, if I can find my F6, and put that in that view. Now here, what I'm going to do is go ahead and save this. Save this as front wheel sub-assembly. Save this as front wheel sub-assembly, and I need to go back and tell you what to submit. So what I want you to submit for this week is one picture of the overall frame again. And then a picture of a detail of this wheel so I can see all those details there. All right, so zoom in on that.